James Thompson sat alone at the corner table of the Oak Tree Gastropub, his dark skin catching the soft amber glow of the fairy lights strung above. He watched the woman he'd been talking to disappear through the kitchen door without a single word of explanation. 20 minutes. 20 minutes of real conversation. Of something warm he hadn't felt in 4 long years. And she simply walked away. Like he didn't matter at all. He pushed his chair back, ready to leave before the shame could properly settle. Then the front door burst open. A woman stumbled inside, drenched in snow, shivering violently, breath coming in sharp white clouds. She scanned the room, locked eyes with him, and said the 5 words that turned the night upside down. "I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm your date." James had spent the entire drive over telling himself this blind date wasn't a betrayal of Sarah. That morning Lily, his 8-year-old daughter, had thrown her small arms around his neck and whispered, "Mummy would want you to smile again, Daddy." She shouldn't have to carry that worry. But 4 years after the crash on Christmas Eve, James still couldn't see fairy lights without remembering blue emergency lights dancing across fresh snow. Matt, his business partner and oldest friend, had practically forced him into it. 3 days earlier at the building site, Matt had shoved his phone under James's nose. A photo of a woman named Rebecca. "She's kind," Matt said. "She's known loss too. One dinner, mate. That's all I'm asking." James had agreed mostly to make Matt stop talking. But deep down, a tired part of him was sick of pretending he was okay. Whenever Lily asked why they never went to the school Christmas fair anymore. The pub smelled of pine logs and mulled wine. When he arrived at 7 sharp on the 20th of December, 5 days before Christmas, he wore the navy jumper Lily chose. She said it made his eyes look less lonely. Matt had said Rebecca would be wearing green. Green jumper, dark hair, gentle smile. James saw her immediately. A woman alone near the entrance. Dark hair spilling over her shoulders. Forest green wool jumper. She was looking down at her phone. Shoulders slightly hunched. Nervous, just like him. He cleared his throat. She looked up. Her eyes were warm. Her smile reached them. Something small inside James's chest gave the tiniest crack. He introduced himself. Words tripping over each other. She gestured to the chair. He Saturday. Within minutes they were talking easily. She asked about his work. He told her about Thompson and Son Builders. She listened, really listened. Nodding, asking thoughtful questions. He asked about her life. She spoke of growing up near Birmingham. Weekends in the Peak District. How winter there felt clean and quiet. She mentioned losing someone close. The way she said it made the air between them feel less heavy. James spoke about Sarah. Not by name at first, just testing. Rebecca didn't flinch. Didn't offer clichés. She simply nodded. Eyes soft with understanding. 20 minutes slipped away. James forgot to check his watch. Something he hadn't done in years. He told her about Lily. How some mornings his daughter was the only reason his feet touched the floor. Rebecca smiled gently. "I know exactly what that feels like." A fragile thread stretched between them. Real, but thin. Then her phone buzzed. Her face changed instantly. She stood. "I'm so sorry, something urgent." "I'll be right back." She hurried toward the staff door and disappeared. James stared at the empty seat. Maybe he'd imagined the connection. Maybe she'd been looking for an exit. And he'd given her the perfect excuse. He reached for his coat. A young waitress approached. Nervous smile. "Are you waiting for Miss Carter?" James froze. She explained. Rebecca Carter had phoned 30 minutes earlier. Her car had broken down on the M62 in the snow. She'd asked them to tell her date. She was on her way, just delayed. The realization hit like cold water. The woman he'd opened his heart to for the last 20 minutes wasn't Rebecca Carter. He'd sat at the wrong table. Told a complete stranger about his dead wife and his little girl. And she'd stayed. Listened. Because she was kind. Or polite. Or too awkward to stop him. The waitress asked if he wanted to wait for the real Miss Carter. Probably another half hour. Maybe more with these roads. James wanted to run. But Lily's voice echoed in his head. "Try, Daddy." He told the waitress he'd stay. She brought water and a small basket of bread. James sat watching the door. The pub glowed with Christmas. Garlands draped over beams. Tiny white lights twinkling. Carols drifted softly. He felt only the chill. 45 minutes later. The storm had thickened. Snow lashed the windows. The front door flew open again. A blast of freezing air swept through. A woman staggered in. Hair plastered to her face. Coat soaked black with wet snow. She was shaking hard. Her eyes found James. She walked straight to him. Reached the table. Stopped. Breath ragged. "I'm so sorry," she gasped. "My car died on the motorway. Phone went flat. Got a lift partway. Then walked the last 2 miles. I promised I'd be here." James stared. This was Rebecca Carter. The woman who'd battled through a blizzard to keep a promise to a man she'd never met. He stood. "It's okay. Are you all right?" She nodded, still apologizing, and collapsed into the chair. The woman in the green jumper reappeared. Thick blanket in one hand. Steaming mug of hot chocolate in the other. She wrapped the blanket around Rebecca's shoulders. Set the mug down gently. Looked at James. With quiet knowing. "Looks like your proper date's arrived." She smiled softly. "Good luck." Then she walked away. James understood then. She was Sarah, the pub manager. She'd known about the mistake the whole time. And had let him talk anyway. Because she was kind. They began again. Awkward, halting at first. Rebecca explained the breakdown. The dead phone. The stranger's lift. The long walk. James confessed the table mix-up. Rebecca laughed. A small, surprised sound. "I'd probably have done the same thing." The conversation warmed. She asked about Lily. James spoke with quiet pride. Rebecca told him about Grace. Her 16-year-old sister. Clever, stubborn, too grown up sometimes. James recognized the familiar weight in Rebecca's voice when she spoke of Grace. The same weight he carried for Lily. They were both living for someone else. Rebecca mentioned her mum. Cancer, 2 years ago. She'd put her own life on hold to keep Grace safe and steady. The grief in her eyes mirrored his. That fragile thread tightened into something real. They stayed until closing. Staff wiped tables around them. But no one asked them to leave. They exchanged numbers. Before stepping into the quiet snow, James drove her home. The silence in the car felt comfortable, not empty. At her flat, she thanked him for waiting. He said he was glad he had. She smiled. And for one heartbeat, he almost leaned in. Too soon. Good night, James. He watched her disappear inside. Then drove home thinking. Maybe Lily was right. Maybe happiness was allowed again. The next morning, the 21st of December. James texted before he could overthink it. Lily's been begging to make wooden decorations. Fancy bringing Grace to the workshop this afternoon? Rebecca replied yes. Within 30 seconds. When he told Lily over breakfast, she dropped her spoon. Milk splashing everywhere. Is she the lady from the pub? James nodded. Lily's face lit up. Gap-toothed grin shining. They arrived at 2. The workshop, a converted garage beside the house, smelled of pine shavings and linseed oil. Lily had already laid out scraps of wood, sandpaper, paint pots. Rebecca stood on the path with a girl who had to be Grace. Same dark hair, same shape to the face. But Grace's arms were folded, expression guarded. Rebecca introduced them. Grace offered a polite hello. That didn't reach her eyes. Lily didn't care. She grabbed Grace's hand and pulled her toward the workbench. Already chattering about stars and snowflakes, Grace let herself be dragged. And James caught the tiniest upward twitch at the corner of her mouth. Rebecca met his gaze. Pure gratitude. The afternoon filled with Lily's laughter, the rasp of sandpaper, the soft clink of paint tins. James showed them how to cut shapes, how to smooth edges safely. Lily made a wonky star, tongue poking out in concentration. Grace began with a plain circle, then asked for a snowflake template. Suddenly focused, precise. Rebecca helped Lily sand rough spots, praising every tiny detail. Lily glowed. James watched them and felt something dangerous bloom. Something that looked too much like family. Later Grace moved beside Lily, showing her how to paint fine lines. Lily looked up at Grace like she was magic. Grace's face softened. Rebecca caught James's eye across the bench and smiled. She saw it too. They stayed until nearly 6. When it was time to go, Lily hugged Rebecca without asking. You smell like cinnamon, she said. Can you come back soon? Rebecca promised she would. Lily turned to Grace, suddenly shy. Can we be friends? Grace glanced at her sister, then back at Lily. I'd like that. James drove them home. Rebecca's car still in the garage. At their flat, Rebecca thanked him again. I can't remember the last time Grace smiled like that. James said he was glad. He already missed them. The 22nd of December. Rebecca invited them over to bake gingerbread. Her flat was small, tucked in an older building in Chorlton. Mismatched furniture, clean and loved. Paper snowflakes hung from the ceiling. A tiny tree blinked in the corner. The kitchen was barely big enough for 4. But they made it work. Lily cracked eggs with wild enthusiasm. Grace cleaned up the mess patiently. James stood beside Rebecca, rolling dough. Their shoulders brushed. Neither moved away. Lily's biscuits were thick with icing. More frosting than biscuit. Grace's were neat, precise. Rebecca cut shapes beside James. She asked quietly about Sarah. James told her. The party, the late drive home. How he should have been in the car too. Rebecca listened. No platitudes. When he finished, she told him about her mum. The long illness. The way she faded. How Rebecca had given up university to keep Grace's world from falling apart. They stood there, flour on their hands, sharing grief like bread. Lily's laugh broke the moment, showing Grace a lopsided snowman biscuit. Later, while the gingerbread cooled, Grace pulled Rebecca aside. James pretended not to hear. Grace's voice carried anyway. I can see what's happening. You like him. You like her. I don't want you giving up anything else. Because of me. Rebecca's reply was too soft to catch. But Grace's shoulders tightened. Lily asked if they could stay for tea. Rebecca nodded. They ordered pizza. Ate it on the living room floor. Because the table was too small. Lily sat beside Grace, telling school stories. Grace listened with practiced patience. They left after 9. Lily fell asleep in the car. James carried her inside. Tucked her in. She mumbled. Rebecca's nice. He kissed her forehead. Then sat in the dark downstairs. He thought about Rebecca's small flat, full of handmade things. Thought about how she looked at Grace. Fierce, protective. Thought how dangerous hope could be. The 23rd of December. James texted. Winter Lights Festival tonight. Lily's desperate to go. Rebecca replied yes. Before he finished typing. They met at 6. When the lights switched on, the square was packed. Families, couples. Vendor stalls, glowing arches. Lily held James's hand on one side. Grace's on the other. Swinging between them. Rebecca walked beside James. The old ache of loss was there. But softer now. Warmed by her nearness. They stopped before the huge Christmas tree. 40 feet of white lights. And school-made decorations. Lily stared up, mouth open. Grace beside her, equally enchanted. Lily turned suddenly. Are you going to stay with us? The question landed like a stone. Rebecca looked startled. James's heart stopped. Lily clarified quickly. I mean come back again. Or is this the last time? Fear trembled in her small voice. The fear of someone already lost. Rebecca knelt. Eye to eye. I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart. I'll come back as many times as you want me to. Lily threw her arms around Rebecca's neck. Rebecca held her tightly. When she stood, her eyes met James's and carried a quiet promise. They walked on. Hot chocolate, roasted chestnuts. Grace and Lily ran ahead, pointing, laughing. James and Rebecca followed slowly. Their hands brushed once, twice. He almost took hers. Couldn't quite dare. At the car, Lily was yawning. James drove them home. This time at the door, Rebecca touched his arm. Thank you for tonight. For including us. For making Grace smile. He said it was easy. Because she made Lily happy. They stood in the cold hallway. Snowflakes melted in her hair. He almost kissed her. Grace opened the door. The moment broke. Driving home, James thought about promises. How easy to make. How hard to keep. He thought of Sarah. Of Lily. Of Rebecca's eyes. He wanted to believe. In second chances. Christmas Eve morning. Lily bounced on his bed. Pancakes. It's Christmas Eve. He made breakfast. Lily cracked eggs, stirred batter. She talked nonstop. About Rebecca and Grace. How maybe next Christmas they could all be together. Rebecca rang while they ate. Can I come over? I've got my mum's cinnamon roll recipe. James said yes. Without hesitation. An hour later. She was in his kitchen. Flour on her cheeks. Smiling. Lily glued herself to Rebecca's side. The kitchen smelled of sugar and spice. Lily was covered in dough. Rebecca helped her wash her hands. Laughing at her endless commentary. James watched them. And felt something deeper than hope. Something like healing beginning. They ate the warm rolls at the table. Lily declared them the best thing in the whole world. James poured coffee. They sat in easy silence. While Lily ran off to play. Rebecca looked around. At the photos on the walls. The lived-in warmth. Your home feels happy, she said. He told her it was because of Lily. She kept him from vanishing into grief. Rebecca understood. She spoke of the early days after her mum. Grace barely speaking. But they survived. Now Grace was thriving. Talking about university. The future. Rebecca had sacrificed her own dreams. To make it possible. James heard the quiet exhaustion. Beneath her words. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen. Her face changed. Relaxed to tense in a heartbeat. She answered. Said yes and thank you several times. When she hung up. Her hands shook. Tears stood in her eyes. It's a job offer, she said. Senior accountant. Westbrook Financial. $85,000 a year. More than double what I earn now. It would pay for Grace's university. Security. But it's in Bristol. I'd have to move. James felt the air leave the room. Bristol. Nearly 200 miles south. She said she had to take it. Her voice cracked. When do you decide? They want me starting January 2nd. I'd need to move fast. Just over a week. He wanted to beg her to stay. Couldn't. He'd just signed a big 6-month contract. With Manchester City Council. If he pulled out, the company would collapse. Lily was settled here. School, friends. They sat in silence. The cinnamon rolls cooled between them. Lily's laughter floated from the next room. James reached across. And took Rebecca's hand. I understand, he said. You have to do what's right for Grace. She squeezed back. I'm sorry. He said he was too. They were saying goodbye. Before they'd properly begun. Rebecca left that afternoon. Told Lily she had to pack. Lily asked when she'd see her again. Rebecca promised soon. James heard the lie. At the door. Rebecca touched his face. I wish things were different. He said he did too. She walked away. James closed the door. Leaned against it. Tried to remember how to breathe. Lily ran up. Where's Rebecca? She had to go home, love. Will she come tomorrow for Christmas? I don't think so. Lily's face crumpled. Why? James knelt, pulled her close. She's got a new job. A really good one. She has to move away. Will we ever see her again? I don't know. The truth hurt them both. That night. Lily cried herself to sleep. James sat beside her bed, stroking her curls, telling her it would be okay, even though he didn't believe it. When she slept, he went downstairs, sat in the dark, staring at the tree. The wooden star Lily painted, hung on a branch, made with Rebecca and Grace. He touched it gently. Hope could turn to loss so quickly. Rebecca and Grace left Manchester on Boxing Day, planning to reach Bristol before the new year. James didn't go to see them off. He couldn't watch them drive away. Lily asked about them every day. James answered honestly, but gently. Christmas had been quiet, sad. Lily opened presents with half her usual sparkle. They ate leftover cinnamon rolls. James burned his hand on the oven, not paying attention. Everything felt wrong. The 28th of December. The weather warnings had been everywhere. A massive storm moving down from Scotland. The worst in a decade. Schools closed early. Sites sent workers home. James made sure Lily had everything before the snow began. Matt rang to check in. "We'll be fine," James said. The storm hit at noon. Snow fell so thick he couldn't see the house opposite. Wind screamed. Temperature plunged. James kept checking his phone. Weather alerts stacking up. Roads closed. Motorways impassable. Lily's school messaged. Buses delayed because of weather. James wasn't worried at first. 2 hours later. Lily still wasn't home. Panic rose, familiar, sick. He rang the school. They said the buses were stuck on the M62, just past the Pennon Pass. Kids safe. Couldn't move until gritters cleared. The M62. The same stretch where Sarah had died. The room tilted. James grabbed the counter. He hung up. Ran to his truck. He had to get to Lily. The roads were almost gone. The truck slid twice before he reached the motorway slip. A police officer waved him down. "Motorway's closed, sir. No one's getting through." James tried to explain. "School bus, his daughter." The officer was kind, but firm. "Emergency services are on it. Kids are safe. Go home and wait." James sat in his truck. On the verge. Snow piling on the windscreen. He couldn't go forward. Couldn't go back. Trapped. Just like 4 years ago. When the phone rang about Sarah. His hands shook. He pulled out his phone. Scrolled to Rebecca's name. Typed without thinking. Lily's stuck on the M62. Same place as Sarah. I can't reach her. I don't know what to do. He knew she was far away. Knew she couldn't help. But he sent it anyway. 15 minutes passed. His phone buzzed. Rebecca. 3 words. I'm coming. James stared, confused. Then the phone rang. Her voice tight, determined, afraid. "We never made it to Bristol. Grace got a bad flu in Stoke. We stopped at a hotel. I'm getting in the car now. Heading north." James tried to tell her no. "Road's too dangerous." She cut him off. "Lily needs me. That's all that matters." He heard the fear beneath her resolve. He wanted to say stay safe, turn around. But he needed her to come. She hung up. James sat praying. That Rebecca would make it. That Lily would be safe. That he wouldn't lose anyone else. The officer knocked. "You need to move, sir." James drove home numbly. Matt arrived an hour later. Let himself in with the spare key. Found James on the sofa. In the dark. Staring at his phone. Matt sat beside him. Didn't speak for a long time. When he did. "She'll be fine, mate. Kids are tough." James wanted to believe him. At 6 o'clock. An unknown number. A woman's voice. "The children are safe. Buses cleared. They are at the fire station. Near Junction 18. Parents can collect them." James was in the truck. Before she finished, Matt shouted after him. "Be careful." The fire station was chaos. Parents, crying children. Emergency blankets everywhere. James pushed through. Searching for Lily. Found her near the back. Small, wrapped in foil. Clutching hot chocolate. She looked scared. But alive. He dropped to his knees. Pulled her into his arms. Held so tight. She squeaked. "You're squishing me." He couldn't let go. Lily pulled back. Eyes wide. Rebecca came. James's heart stopped. She climbed through the snow. Helped open the bus doors. Made sure everyone was okay. She asked if I was Lily Thompson. When I said yes, she hugged me. And said everything would be all right. James looked around wildly. A firefighter noticed. "You looking for someone?" James described Rebecca. "She left about 20 minutes ago. Refused to check up even though she looked shattered. Said her sister was sick. Waiting at a hotel in Stoke. Matt took Lily home." "Find her, mate." "I've got Lily." James drove south. Through the dying storm. Rebecca had come. Driven through the worst blizzard in years. Faced her fear. Saved his daughter. And he'd let her walk away. Without even saying thank you. The hotel was a small chain. Just off the motorway. He got her room number. From reception. Knocked. Grace opened the door. Pale, tired. Flew still in her face. She recognized him instantly. Stepped aside. Rebecca sat on the edge of a bed. Staring at her hands. She looked up. Exhaustion carved deep lines. Around her eyes. James asked if she was okay. She nodded. Her hands still shook. He sat beside her. Took those trembling hands. "Thank you," he said. "You saved Lily's life." Rebecca shook her head. "I had to come. I couldn't live with myself. If something happened." Grace cleared her throat. "There's something you should know." She pulled an envelope from her backpack. Handed it to Rebecca. Rebecca's hands shook harder. Grace explained. "I got a full scholarship. To Manchester University. Letter came 2 weeks ago. I hid it. I thought if you knew. You'd turn down Bristol. I was trying to help. But seeing you cry on Christmas Day, I realized I was wrong." Rebecca stared at the letter. Tears fell freely. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Grace's voice broke. "I'm tired of you giving up everything. Because of me. I'm tired of being the reason you can't be happy. You deserve a life too. To fall in love. To build something. The scholarship means we can stay. You don't have to take Bristol. If you don't want to." Hope surged in James's chest. He asked Rebecca what she wanted. She looked at him, eyes full of tears. I want to stay. But I can't use Grace's scholarship as an excuse to turn down good money. I still need to support us. Make sure Grace has everything. James took a breath. I've been thinking. The company's growing fast. Matt's hopeless with the books. We've been saying for months. We need a proper accountant. Someone senior. It's a real job. Senior financial manager. For Thompson and Son. Salaries close to Bristol's offer. Maybe a touch less to start. But with proper benefits. Pension, health. Room to grow. It's not charity. We need you. Rebecca searched his face. For a long moment. Are you sure? Is this really what you want? James said. He'd never been more sure. Of anything. I want you to stay. I want Lily to have you in her life. I want to see where this could go. If we give it a real chance. I'm terrified of losing someone again. But I'm more terrified of never trying. Rebecca's answer was to kiss him. Soft. Tentative. Lips cold from the storm. Salty with tears. James kissed her back. Hands cradling her face. For the first time since Sarah. He felt allowed to be happy. Grace made a small sound. Half laugh, half sob. When they parted. She was smiling through tears. Next morning, the 29th of December. The storm had passed. Sun sparkled on fresh snow. They drove back to Manchester together. Lily was waiting at home. With Matt. When Rebecca walked through the door. Lily screamed. Ran into her arms. Rebecca held her tight. I'm not going anywhere. Lily asked. Grace too. Grace confirmed. Lily grabbed her hand. Dragged her upstairs. To show her something. James and Rebecca stood in the hallway. Matt clapped James on the shoulder. And let himself out. Rebecca leaned into James's side. He wrapped an arm around her. You ready for this? She asked. The mess. The complications. Blending two families. James said he was. He'd been running from happiness. For 4 years. He was tired of running. 1 year later. Christmas Eve. James reserved the same corner table. At the Oak Tree Gastropub. The table where everything began. Rebecca sat across from him now. Wearing forest green. Just like that first night. Lily and Grace were at the next table. Giggling, failing to be quiet. Sarah, the pub manager, stood behind the bar. Watching with a knowing smile. The same one she'd worn. The night she let a stranger talk. James reached into his pocket. Pulled out a small velvet box. His hands were steady. He opened it. A simple ring caught the light. Rebecca's breath caught. He spoke quietly. I've been thinking about this. 4 months. About what it means. To build a life. After loss. I've learned. Loving again. Doesn't erase the people who came before. It honors them. By choosing to live fully. By choosing joy. Instead of just surviving. Rebecca Carter. Will you marry me? Be my partner. Lily's stepmom. The person I build tomorrow with. Rebecca said yes. Before he finished. Tears, the good kind. Ran down her face. James slipped the ring on. Lily and Grace erupted in cheers. Diners clapped. Sarah brought champagne. On the house. James pulled Rebecca close, kissed her, while their daughters laughed, and strangers celebrated. Later that night, after tucking Lily in, they stood before the tree. Old wooden ornaments hung beside new ones. A whole year of memories. Rebecca rested her head on James's shoulder. "I'm glad I walked 2 miles through a blizzard to meet you." James smiled. "I'm glad I waited." They stood in the soft glow of Christmas lights. Two people who'd learned that sometimes the best gifts come wrapped in second chances. And sometimes the person you're meant to find is the one who refuses to give up on you, even when every road tells them to turn back.